There we go. Hey, everybody. This is Vera Sadler with VLS Coaching and Women of Life Ministries. And I am here tonight for our Tuesday Talk Live. And I have one of my friends, an elder minister. I'm not even sure what to call him, but Peter Pinion from Minds Connected. And we are here to have a conversation with you that's going to be very probably intense for some people, great for others, enlightening for some. But we're here tonight to talk about mental health because
Yeah.
this is what a very sensitive topic for a lot of people, but it's on the radar. This is October's Mental Health Month. We just ended up October with Mental Health Month, but it's an awareness, Peter, that I believe that should not just be a month that we focus on it, but it should be all the time because we see a lot of chaos going on in our world that is surrounded around poor mental health. And I think if we bring a spotlight to what mental health really is, that maybe some of the stigmatism around it, we can do away with that and we can just get people to really understand mental health is like taking care of your physical body as well. So first of all, out the gate, I want to thank you for taking away from your busy time, your busy schedule to be here with us on Tuesday Talk Live and let our guests hear about the mental health. I'm not the expert. I am getting my certification as a mental health coach. I'm almost
Woo-hoo.
done with it. I think I have like one more big section, which I should have
Great.
before the end of the year, and I will be a certified. As a coach, we don't always have to be certified, but in this arena, I wanted to be certified. I
That's
wanted to
great.
have the understanding, the knowledge, and the material behind it. So I will be certified as a mental health coach before the end of the year. I have part of the certification, but I'm finalizing it. But
That's
as
great.
I'm saying, this is
Congrats.
something, thank you. This is something that is so dear to me
Hmm.
because I think I have people in my family that suffer with mental health and mental disease. And so I'm
Yeah.
going to let you just jump in and first introduce yourself to the audience and then start just talking to us about how you became interested in mental health and then just shoot away.
Yeah. Yeah. And please just pause me and ask me to go deeper, or if I'm going too deep and you're like, Peter, we can't hang down there. I can nerd out pretty quickly, but I'm so glad to be here. Thank you so much for letting me hang out and inviting me and hosting me so well. It really is an honor, and I'm grateful for all that you're doing. And I'll
Thank
be
you.
cheering you on as you finish up your studies. That's a great
Thank you.
that's a
Thank
great
you.
milestone for you. So I have a wonderful wife, Lindsay, and I have four
Yes.
kids: Paxton, Pierce, Leela, and Pace. Are wonderful people. That's the joy of my life, being able to hang out with them.
Mhm.
I love being with them. That's my full time job, pretty much. As far as where my stress points go, but um, but I really do enjoy being able to walk with people either on a one on one or with couples or families. I do professional counseling. I'm licensed here in the state of Texas, and I also do mental health coaching as well. And I really enjoy that as because it gives us an opportunity to impact the whole spectrum. Like you just said, we kind of there's overlap, but we look at mental illness,
Mhm.
and then we also look at mental health, and they don't always one doesn't cancel out the other. You can be someone that has a diagnosed mental illness and still be focusing and prioritizing your mental health. So it's real cool. I love studying that stuff. That's what I like to read in my spare time.
Oh my
And
gosh.
yeah, so it's I'm a if there was a certification for being a mind nerd, I would have it. So
So is that how you came up with the Minds Connected coach?
there's a lot of history with that, but really, like you mentioned, we know each other from church. There is a deep conviction on the biblical principles that are seen in neuroscience. And when I got into the neuroscience work, I saw that the key principle was that we're all looking for that deep connection, and our minds in and of themselves do not know truth by themselves. They don't know truth. We have to do the deep work and figure out what is true. So there's a part of us that is looking for the truth, but if our minds are not connected, then We're
Mm.
not going to be able to know the truth. I can feel like something's true. I can feel worthless. I've felt worthless
Wow.
before. I felt it. And so I've told myself, well, if you feel it, then it must be true. But that's my mind doing its best attempt at figuring out truth. But it wasn't true for not even a moment, but it still felt true. So minds connected is pointing us to that element of our minds have to be connected for us to find truth. Sometimes I think something's true, and then my wife graciously tells me that it is not true. She helps me figure it out. And sometimes, no, I've never helped her figure out that something wasn't true. She's the best. But for those that are in the faith community, you know that there's been times that you've thought something was true,
Mhm.
and then through a spiritual connection, you're able to figure out that maybe that wasn't true. Maybe that wasn't the most important thing. So Minds Connected has a human component, and for those that are seeking something deeper, I believe that there is a supernatural component to it as well, of wanting to be connected with
Wow.
the ultimate source of truth.
That is so good right there. Um, it's so amazing when I'm talking to the guests on the show and they bring out such revelation and points like that I believe individuals need to hear, because when you just said that our minds need to be connected. And you know I was when I teach in anger management or something like that, and I'm
Yeah.
telling individuals about perception. Your perception is not always reality. And so I think that's what you're bringing out right now, is a point that sometimes we can think something or we can even believe something,
Yeah.
but until we get really into a community and connect with proper people, proper places, and things where we can really start to dig deeper,
Yeah.
like you were saying, into with others, we can find truth.
Yeah.
Because sometimes our truth is not really reality. And so I love that you said that, because sometimes we may have someone that's sitting here listening and said, well, I don't need that, I know. Well,
Hmm.
maybe your knowing is not
Yeah.
really reality, or your knowing is not factual, and you need to get connected. And it helps with, and I'll just put this out there, there has been a big stigmatism in the minority community about
Mm.
counseling. So you do
Yeah.
counseling, you do
Hmm.
mental health coaching, but there was, from the way back, it's starting to break somewhat. It is starting,
Yeah.
because a lot more individuals are starting to seek professionals like yourself for help. But that stigmatism that said we got this, but we never had it, and
Yeah.
we needed that support that an
Hmm.
individual like you provide. So I'm
Yeah.
thankful that what your company is even called, Minds Connected, because it lets us know
Yeah.
we need your help.
That's our ultimate goal. That's what we want. We want to see minds connected. And I've been in the room when couples come to me and they feel like they have been fighting, they've been arguing, and they think that they're connected.
Mm.
But when that switch flips and they really connect, and then like, oh, wait, you thought I was rejecting you? And I thought you were rejecting me? Because that's our biggest need. We want to be connected and accepted, and that's not debatable. You're going to look at any of the theories, and that's what I love about it, that everybody's going to agree that the greatest mental and emotional, and for some of us, if you believe it, spiritual need is connection. That's
Mhm.
what we need. Everything goes south when we don't feel connected. And that's what's so cool about mental health care, is that there are so many theories. Last time that I was educated on it, there was over 450 different ways to do treatment for somebody with a mental illness. And that doesn't necessarily mean that every illness has 450
Right.
different
Right.
options, but there's 450 different theories that are out there. But the research is clear. The thing that makes the biggest difference, you want to know what it is?
What?
Do you already know it?
No. Go ahead.
Okay, then I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you. It's whether the person can connect with their therapist or not.
Wow.
So whether it's cognitive behavioral, internal family systems, EMDR, whatever the theory is, and which again, for different disorders or different illnesses, it helps to have a particular specialization.
Okay.
But ultimately, what really makes healing possible is the relationship with a therapist. Can you connect to them? Is it a fit?
So when people, that just brought a question to my mind. So if
Please.
an individual is going to someone for treatment and they're saying it's not working, it could possibly just be that maybe there's not with the right therapist.
Hmm.
They're not connecting. Maybe
Yes.
that therapist doesn't have enough specialty or
Hmm.
specialization in
Yeah.
what's their issue or
Hmm.
concern, because
Yeah.
sometimes it's just a concern. I
Hmm.
may go and I'm going to talk to someone and they don't have enough
Yep.
training, I'll say
Yes.
training or specialty,
You're
so
on.
I
You're
can't
right.
connect.
Hmm.
And then I come back say
Yes.
treatment doesn't work, but that's not
Exactly.
true. And so here we
Not
are
always.
bouncing off that it, yeah.
So you bring up the point that we want to be clear, because I don't want anybody to be misunderstanding what I'm saying. So the first need that we have mentally and emotionally is to feel connected.
Okay.
The second one is that we want to feel competent.
Okay.
Okay. So in
Wow.
relationship, we want to feel connected and we want to feel like the other person is competent. So competency issues are the second leading cause of lack of progress and achieving your goals. And so sometimes if there is an issue, you do, man, I get along with that therapist. I could go have coffee with that person. I mean, they're just great people, but they don't teach me nothing, or they don't ask any questions. There's not any of that that's coming out. So there if there is a connection and there's no competence, change won't happen.
Mm.
But you could also not be connecting with somebody that is super confident. I mean, they could have all the degrees on the wall that are there, but if there's not a connection, you're not even going to be able to benefit from that competence. In the same way, you could actually be, the person could be connecting with you and they could be very competent, but you're not competent at actually doing the work. And that's what I love
Wow.
about coaching is more quick to say, look, you don't do the work, you're not going to have any results. You don't plant any seeds down, you're not going to see any results. You're not going to see
Right.
a crop or a harvest. And I think that's a good balance for us, is to recognize that, is that sometimes the competence is not on the therapist or the counselor or the coach. The competence is on us as a client.
Oh my gosh. So I put that up here for everyone to see because I wanted them to really hear what you're saying, the connection and the competence.
Yeah, that was
And it
quick. You
really
got
goes
fast fingers
both
over there.
ways. I was trying, so I wanted you to know if I'm looking away, I'm typing, but
Oh no, you're good.
man, oh my gosh.
So those are the principles.
Oh
Everything that I teach, every conversation that I have, I'm thinking about that. I'm thinking about, can I connect with this person, and can they feel like I'm competent enough to help them, and can I help them feel competent enough to help themselves? Because
wow.
I will be limited by somebody else's competence to engage in the process. Ah, man, oh yeah, you said to watch that video, or you said to do that thing, but man, I just got busy. I'm like, that's cool. Like it really is your life. You can choose. You have that autonomy to, and I'm not going to take that away from you, because I in a therapy, counseling, and coaching setting, I'm not an authority figure.
Right.
I come down
Mm-hmm.
and come off in the way that I want to be treated, where I'm an
Hmm.
equal. So if we were having a session right now, we're equal. It's as peer to peer as it feels to me, because I might be a little bit more of an expert, not with you particular, but if we were having a session,
Hmm.
I might be more of an expert on people
You're
in
still more
general.
of an expert than I am.
I'm not going to
Been
say
doing it
that. We
longer.
don't we don't we don't have to go there, but the other person will always have the upper hand and be more of an expert on themselves.
Yes.
Nobody else on the planet will have more content on the other person than them. So I'm bringing out this theory and this principle of we're going to be co-experts.
Mm-hmm.
I'm an expert on people in general, and you're an expert on you. And when those powers combined, I used to watch a show called Captain Planet, and it was like, when the powers combined, we are Captain Planet. And that's what happens when I can
Mm-hmm.
take my expertise and I can take your expertise and we come into this conversation, powerful things happen because
Oh,
we're connecting, but then we're also willing to have this safe space to become more competent, to practice. Oh yeah, you have problems talking to your husband? Okay, come on. Like, do you want let's practice this out. Okay? Let's work on your competence. So let's just say I'm your husband and I didn't do the dishes. Okay? How are you gonna come at me? Go. And we're like this. Everything I do is telehealth. So it's exactly the way it is right now. And so we're setting an example of what a conversation would look like. And so you could practice in a safe space. No, because no matter what, even if I act upset, because you're gonna tell me, I'm like, how would your husband like give me some pointers if I'm gonna get into this role and be a method actor of your husband, then give me some tips. What do I need to do? Like, do I smile? Do my brows come down? What's happening when you're confronting me about the dishes? And so we get to do that. Then I listen to the way that you talk to
mm-hmm.
me as your husband, and then I flip it. I'm like, now you are going to be your husband and I'm going to be you, and I'm going to show you what I saw. And that's why I love the video side of it, because we can run through it one time with you looking at me, and then the other time I'll be like, now I want you to look at you. Look at how you're coming off. Are you just coming off like that? Like you don't even notice the way
Mm-hmm.
that, and I'm not talking about your issues. I'm saying I'm confessing that that's
No, no,
mine.
no. I understand what you're saying.
And I
And,
think everybody else knows that I'm not saying that your husband doesn't do the dishes, because
and
I
you
saw
know,
the interview
I
with that
love the
man,
way
and I
you're
know he's got skills.
I love the way you're bringing that out, because I remember when I was in counseling, that's exactly what my counselor said too. We had
Yeah,
to do some role playing.
exactly.
It's about getting to the meat of the matter. And sometimes I know for me, you want to go in and you want to say, oh, this is what's wrong. You want to cry, you're weeping, you're like
Yep.
bearing your soul, but they're like, okay, let's talk.
Yeah.
This is what is. And I had to go through some of those role playing scenarios and do
Yeah.
that. And at first it's uncomfortable.
Yes.
But because you're like, ooh, what are they telling me to do? And what are they going to
Hmm.
perceive from this? But
Yeah.
I want to encourage those listening to us that it's a very good exercise, because when
Yeah.
you can think that you're saying something a certain way, but how the other person perceives it can be
Yeah.
totally different.
Yes.
And it helps you when you have someone that's unbiased
Yes.
actually hear what you're saying
Hmm.
from a different perspective, and you
Yeah.
think, well, I just said it real general, but they actually hear a different message, and they can tell
Exactly.
you the message that you're actually
Hmm.
what message is actually being sent. And
Yeah.
you never even, like, for most of us, we never consider that. We never consider that our message can be demeaning. It can be, you're, for most of us wives, that you're sounding like my mother. You sound like you're harping on something.
Yeah.
And all we want to get it done. We want you to hear us. We want you, but we never consider what the message sounds like to the other
Mm.
person. Sometimes it's with my children. I mean, there's sometimes even when the Holy Spirit tells me, hey, can you just, the Holy Spirit tell me to be quiet, and I want to say, and I mean, it'll be like a voice, don't
Hmm.
say anything.
Yeah.
But I think that's also what a good counselor and a good coach does to help us with our mental health, because, and you can help me with this, with our mental health, I think sometimes we have these nagging feelings. We're upset, we're up and down, and we're not necessarily talking about the mental disease that you're
Mm.
bipolar, you're manic. We're talking about just good mental health. Your emotions are balanced.
Yeah.
And I think nowadays, do you find that there are people who really struggle having good mental health these days?
I think that everybody has mental issues on some level.
Thank you. Thank
Okay.
you.
So I think the stats are that 1 in 5 adults in our country here in the United States of America will experience mental illness each year,
I read that.
but 5 out of 5 have issues.
Wow.
So 1 out of 5 has illness, but all of us have issues. And an illness is basically a specific set of issues.
Mm.
That's all that it is. And some illnesses are going to be contracted. And so it's almost like there's some sort of mental injury, like, you tripped or you got embarrassed or you get fired or something happens. And so it's like mental injury leads to mental infection. And so that leads to the mental illness. But with treatment, you can heal from that. And then there are some others that are more rooted in some of the genetic factors. And so we have
Mhm.
these predispositions that can lead us to have a more persistent mental illness. But again, because if you look at that mental illness as now there's no chance for you having mental health or investing in your mental health, then we're really missing it, because there's this whole other there are these two different tracks. And so one is the illness and then one is the health. And just like somebody that has diabetes, there are people that have diabetes and they give up on health, and then there are people that have diabetes and you would never know that they have a lifelong illness that is going to impact them, because they still focus on their health. They still eat healthy, they still exercise. They're working on their health in the midst of having an illness. And here's the key, is that we get discouraged because we're like, well, why am I going to watch what I eat? Why am I going to exercise? It's not like any of that is going to take my diabetes away. It's
Wow,
like, well,
that
that's
is.
not the point. The point is not cure. We don't do healthy and helpful things to cure things. We do healthy and helpful things to care for ourselves. Because that would be like, sometimes when my kids are sick, I'm not going to be like, well, you know what? I'm going to give you some crackers. I'm going to give you some Sprite. I'm Mexican. So crackers and Sprite, doesn't matter what's going on. We're going to give you some crackers and Sprite. You're going to be all better. We're going to give you some of that. And that's care. I don't think scientifically that, for food poisoning, for the flu, for a cold, for, all this list of illnesses, I don't
That
think crackers
crackers
and
is right.
Sprite really cure it, but it does show care to my kids. And that's what it is for us. So you can handle your mental illness over here, but on the other side of mental health care, you can
Mhm.
care for yourself. And so some people will go and work with a professional to help themselves with their mental illness. And some people will keep on going when they've already learned what they needed to learn about mental
Mhm.
illness and have gotten therapy. But now they continue to work with a counselor or a coach because they
Mhm.
want to keep working. They want to keep growing. They want to keep seeing the progress, and they see that it impacts all areas of life. So your question of like, is it an issue? I think it is an issue, but you have to be very gracious with our society, okay?
Okay.
Because just 2 generations ago, and I'm a millennial. Don't hold it against me, but
Mhm.
I'm a millennial. But 2 generations ago, the only mental health care that people saw was
Mhm.
either in the movies or with having a relative or somebody in their community
That's
that was
right.
getting hauled off in a
Yep.
straitjacket.
Mhm.
And so you were dealing with somebody that was either hearing voices, having some type of hallucination, or they were completely delusional. The government's after me. I mean, if you've ever seen the movie A Beautiful Mind,
Oh,
there
yes.
that is a great depiction of what mental health care looks like in just 2-3 generations ago. That's what it was. So those people raise these people and those people raise these people, and so it's come such a long way. It's like, well, I don't need mental health care. I'm not hearing voices and I'm not delusional. I'm having anger issues. I'm flying off the handle. I'm losing this job. And so there's all these other issues now, but because it doesn't meet the criteria for the age old diagnostic system of, are you hearing hallucinations, or do you have hallucinations, and do you have delusions? That's what mental health care was for. So part of the stigma that we've been working on overcoming has been educating people and letting them know that over time as we have given tools to these people that were dealing with intense mental illness, we found that it actually helped other illnesses. It's like, oh,
Mhm.
it works for schizophrenia, it works for bipolar, oh, it helps depressed people, it helps anxious people. And so you start broadening it out, and then you start seeing that it helps people that don't even have a diagnosable mental illness. And that's
Mhm.
where coaching was born on this side. Again, coaching historically has existed in a lot of different ways, but specifically in life coaching, transformational coaching, and mental health coaching, mental wellness coaching, this has come because now we can take these tools and we don't have to wait till somebody gets mentally injured or develops a
Right.
mental illness, and we
Mhm.
can give them the tools now, and they'll already be familiar with them if they ever need them for illness purposes, but they can use them for the rest of their life in their mental health.
So last week, I was having a conversation with a healthcare educator, and we
Awesome.
were talking about healthcare and
Mm.
those same type of old adage stigmatisms about disease
Mm.
and
Yeah.
how we from all way back then, if it didn't look a certain way or we learned a certain behavior. So in our in our history, when you got hurt,
Yes.
um they gave you cod liver oil. My stomach hurt, my ear hurt, anything. They gave us castor oil and cod liver oil
Mhm.
for everything. Well, and then now we have these older people, and we have some generations that we're still fighting to get them to the doctor, to
Yeah,
get them to treat their health,
of
their
course.
physical health. And what I hear is even it's the same thing in mental health, because we saw those pictures, we saw, and back then in olden times, even before just 2 decades ago, they used to lock people up, that and just keep them in dungeons. They used to keep them
Mhm.
in these buildings and lock them up and
Yeah.
just almost like forget about them. And that's where our mind. So again, like Dr. Maria was talking about last week with the physical body, we have to break these, not saying that that didn't work then or whatever, but we have to break this cycle. And like you just
Yeah.
said, education
Mhm.
is so important, and we have to learn. We've been given, God has graced us with so much knowledge and grace professionals to be, and there's so much material, and it's all not bad. It's not all taboo to run from. It's things
Mm-mm.
that we can grow from and we can learn from. And so we can't stay in the back and say, oh, well, cousin Sally is crazy because she hears. No, this is
Mhm.
what she believes. And
Yeah.
um there are things, as you said, that come from trauma. There are things
Yeah.
that come from just childhood ways, and we just
Mhm.
have these ways of thinking that we must come out of this learning. And so I'm glad you brought that up, that the way we always thought about things is not always, again, back
Yeah.
to what we started out with, our
True.
reality, that unless we get connected, we don't always get truth.
Yeah. And I think that it's so important to have a healthy posture with it. Is I'm not upset with anybody. We were doing the best that we could. I mean, if
Yeah.
you go even further than those generations, I mean, there's been a history. Mental illness has existed for a long time. I don't know exactly when it began, but I have some ideas. I have some theories. But the point is that we're all doing the best that we can.
Mm-hmm.
We're doing the best that we can in the community. But what's different is a true sign of health is when you are not well, are you willing to go get help?
That's really good,
Are
Peter.
you willing to go get help? Because you honestly have to be healthy enough mentally to go get help, for somebody not to have to force you. Because we have spouses sometimes, or our kids will beg us, hey, you know what, go get some help. Like this is harmful, or this is dangerous at this point. But when you can say, oh my goodness, I notice this pattern, I see what's there, and now I know that I need to get some help.
So you just mentioned something that I wanted you to bring up for those who are listening, because someone might say, "Well, I don't know if someone around me, if my children." We see a lot happening with young people,
Hmm.
them they becoming dangerous, suicidal, just
Yeah. Mm.
behaviors, or parents, even parents,
Yeah.
spouses. Are there some particular signs that maybe you as a professional would say are some warning signs? I don't know if you can disclose any of that, or if you can just share a few things that might be warning signs to look for.
Yeah, I would love to. And I can't give things that pertain to every single diagnosis that's out there.
Right.
I'm gonna stay very general. Um, and we could, if there was ever a time and somebody said, "Hey, well, what about warning signs of depression, signs of anxiety?" And that's what I would just encourage. The internet can be good too. And so if you just typed in warning signs of whatever you think you have or whatever you think your loved one has, it'll at least give you a starting point.
Hmm.
The general community having access to information can be a blessing, can be a plus for us if people don't try to diagnose. They just try to say, okay, there's a lot, it sounds a lot like this. So I'm going to
Hmm.
go take my observations to a professional. What hurts people is you take your observations to that person or to yourself and you be like, look, I was on WebMD and you totally have bipolar. It's like, no, come on now. Like that's a pretty big claim. And there's hope for bipolar, there's hope for schizophrenics, there's hope for everybody. And I've seen transformation in all diagnoses that are out there. But what we look at for everybody is we use a memory aid called the D's. And so this is, diagnosis or disorder. You can remember, we're going to look for a difference in thinking, feeling, and doing. Is there a significant difference? Because again, all of us are different in the way that we think, feel, and do, but is it significant based on the population that a person is embedded in? What's your community? What is, because again, if we go to some of the other countries, I mean, they might not even wear shirts, or they might,
Hmm.
draw on their bodies or have more tattoos or bones in their ears. It's like that might be different in some places, but we're looking for a significant difference based on the community that that person is in their thinking, feeling, and doing. Thank you for putting that up there. That's awesome. So then the second thing is is the thinking, feeling, and doing, is that leading to dysfunction? So it's so you got difference, and then now you have dysfunction. Is what is the level of unhealth that is there in the thinking? Because it might be one of those basic things of like, oh my goodness, I am feeling like I'm worthless, or I'm feeling like I'm like my life is going to be over, like I'm not going to do well, and if I don't get this job, or if I don't get into this college, or if I don't get this client, or you can put it in all these different ways. And
Hmm.
like you start looking at your thinking or your feeling or your doing, and it's leading to dysfunction. That
Man.
is a sign that you're dealing with something that is greater than the rest of the population. The next one is distress. So we have difference, dysfunction, and distress. Distress is the negative side of stress. Stress has a good side to it, and that's the side that helps us stay motivated. But the negative side of stress is distress, and that's when it starts to feel mentally, emotionally, or physically painful. Your body responds. And when you start feeling that impact of
Hmm.
your thinking, feeling, and doing on your body, then you probably are dealing with something that's not going to go away. And the last one, so to review, we have, and I'm just coming off the top of my head. So the difference, the dysfunction, the distress, and the last D is danger. Am I
Mm.
a danger to myself or someone else? And so that all of these are on a continuum. So it's a range that's there. So
Oh.
it's okay. You're giving us a little bit of a review there. So we have difference, dysfunction, distress, and danger. And when you look at all of those signs that are there, and if it lasts for more, there's checkpoints. So if it lasts for more than 14 days, I mean, we know this, the same principle with the body is the same principle with the mind. If something doesn't resolve itself in 14 days, the likelihood, the likelihood of it resolving by itself is not high. So 14 days, 30 days, 60 days,
Mhm.
90 days. So at some point, you have to be tracking that you're experiencing these things and it's not going away. And that's information for you. That is information that has the potential to lead to transformation. It can lead in that direction, but you have to be honest with yourself. You have to be healthy enough to say, okay, I'm looking at the signs. I know it's not, I shouldn't think this way. Or
Mhm.
I know that I'm not getting a lot of work done because I'm so focused on this. Or I know that I'm so stressed out because nobody's going to be like, well, I'm just dealing with a lot of distress, and distress is the negative side of stress. Nobody's going to nerd out. But when
Right,
you
right,
start
right.
hearing yourself, or you hear somebody saying that they're stressed and they're stressed out, because in our generation, we are more prone to talk about stress. But now we're calling all stress anxiety. So that can get kind of confusing. So it's helpful to sit with somebody or really understand some of the nuances, some of the differences between these terms so that you know where you need to go. What's
Mhm.
next? What would be helpful for us in that situation? So like I said, you're looking at these four categories and you're looking at it over time, because time does not heal all wounds.
No.
Physical, in some cases, the more intense the situation or the illness,
Mhm.
time is actually the enemy. If you
Mm.
get shot and you're bleeding out, time's not going to heal that wound. If you have cancer or heart disease, time's not going to heal that. But once you get treatment and you multiply healthy, appropriate treatment and you multiply that by time, then it increases the likelihood of you actually getting health and healing.
This has to be so good for the listeners because it is really helping me. It's really good for me. And just even knowing those things, if we pay attention to ourselves, I think one of the key things you said is being honest with ourselves. Some of us, I think, like you were saying, how many of us going to sit and say, "Oh, I'm acting dysfunctional"? You might not say that to yourself, but you know your behavior is so not where it should be. I mean,
Yeah.
if we're honest, and I think that's
Mhm.
going to be the key factor for
Yes.
many people getting the mental health they need is just
Yeah.
being honest with yourself and saying, I'm not
Mhm.
behaving the way I should. I'm overwhelmed. I'm like, you don't,
Yep.
most people don't want to say I'm stressed, but people know that they're so
Yeah.
overwhelmed that it's leading to
Mhm.
behaviors and thought patterns and
Yes.
different things. I mean, I'm saying this because I've been there, did that,
Yes, me too.
went to the therapy, get the
Yes.
help. I talk to people now if I,
Mhm.
I mean, I remember when I stopped counseling, I went back by myself because
Mhm.
there was a time when it was, sometimes it could be, it doesn't have to be just your marriage. It could be your marriage, your job. It could
Yep.
be everything around
Parenting.
you seems like it's ministry all caving in at one time and you're trying
Yes.
to, and it doesn't have to, I want people to realize that are that listening to this conversation we're having, it doesn't mean that you said if 5 out of 5 people have something they're dealing with, but
Yeah.
sometimes it all caves in on you at one time.
Exactly.
And you can't
Mhm.
seem to get those balls to move
Yes.
on your own. And so when that happened to me, I'm like, okay,
Mhm.
I need to slow down and take a breath
Yes.
because I felt like I was trying to come up for air and
Yeah.
couldn't on my
Mhm.
own. So I needed to go get someone that could help me see
Yeah.
some light at the end of the tunnel. And so what you're saying is recognize that you're there.
Mhm.
That's what I'm hearing. Recognize that, and if or recognize someone else is there. Be a friend.
Mhm.
Sometimes I don't know. Can you speak to that? How do you be a friend to someone, or how do you recommend to someone? Hey,
Yeah.
I see there's something off because
Yeah,
people
I think a
get
good
really offended.
analogy, thank you for that question. I really appreciate it. I think, like we said, the person needs to feel connected to us first.
Okay.
We need to be connected. Part of what messes with relationships is we barge in there. It's like we go into their mental space and we're like, oh my goodness, like look, you got mental clothes on the floor and there's all this crap everywhere, and I can't believe you live like this.
Mm-hmm.
And so we think that we're helping, but it's more of being connect, making sure that you addressing the competence will not go further than the connection.
Mm.
So when you come at somebody like that, you're addressing you're addressing a tender area of like you are not competent enough to handle your own stuff. That's a hard thing for us to deal with.
Oh
So,
wow.
so we need to know where's the connection at. Once the connection's there, then you start by being a mirror.
Okay.
A good friend will tell you there's something in your nose, there's something on your face, there's something in your teeth. Your shirt's not completely tucked in, or it is tucked in, or there's a hole in your pants. Like, that's a good friend. That's a good spouse. That's a good child. That's a good parent. That's what you want. You want to be a mirror. Hey, do you mean to have that thing in your nose? I know the kids are doing all kinds of crazy things these days. Oh, no, no, no. That thing wasn't supposed to be there.
That one wasn't.
So let me take that out. Thank you. And you see it as a gift. But
Mm.
but you don't go around holding up a mirror to people without them asking you, "Hey, can you hold that mirror? Hey, what do you think about this?" Start right there. Hey, look at this. This is what I'm seeing. What do you think about that? I've noticed that since January, your grades have started to decline. I've noticed that since January, you seem to be a little bit more grumpy. Have you noticed that? Do you see what I'm seeing in the mirror? So it's very gentle, and you're taking your self-awareness of what you're seeing and you're sharing it with them. You're just sharing it. And sharing, it should feel like a gift. It should make
Not an
somebody
attack.
want to say thank you,
Not an attack.
not an attack. Because that's like saying, it's basically like saying, look in the mirror. Look how much weight you gained. Instead of saying, how do you feel in your own skin? Again, you don't have to use coaching, counseling language. You're using your own personality, your own way to say, I've noticed this. This is just what I'm seeing. What do you think that's about?
I
And if
thought
they
of something
engage
when
with
you
that,
just said
then you
that.
can go further.
Yeah. I
But it
thought of
starts
something when
there.
you just said that. I thought of um there's a book by Gary Chapman, um, but it's talking about relationships, talking about marriage basically, but he talks about the SALT method.
Okay.
That's what I just thought about when you said that.
Do, do
Because
you do you
salt, if
know?
you
Is
have
it
salt,
start with that?
it dries you out. And salt, if you just put salt, makes you thirsty.
Okay.
So when you it's called for better or for best. For better or for
Mm,
best. Not for better
okay.
or for worse, but for
Yeah.
better or for best.
Cool.
Excellent, excellent book. Um,
Yeah. It'd be
very
great for
small
you to
book.
drop that in case people want to look for that. Because I
Yeah,
don't. It's
it's
not
just
coming to my mind the name of the book.
it
I-
is
I've
awesome.
I've liked his work before though.
For better
Oh,
or
that's the name of the book.
best. That's the name of the book, For
Oh,
Better or
okay,
for
cool.
Best by
Okay,
Gary
cool.
Chapman.
Yeah, I
But
didn't know if that was what the so that's the name of the book, and then the
mhm.
method is salt.
And inside the book, he talks about when
Okay.
couples talk, they should use the SALT method. And because the salt makes you thirsty. And so
Mm-hmm.
if I'm going to have a conversation with you, Peter, I want to draw you in. I want to make you thirsty for
Okay.
more. But too many times, as we're attacking. Hey, I've had to learn how to tame this
We've
thing
all
called.
been there. Mm-hmm.
I've had to learn how to tame that, and not say always what I think. And I'm one of those people. I'm not bragging, but my mind thinks so quick, and I could spew
Yeah.
it out so fast. But I'm like, "Ooh, rein it in, girl, rein it,
Yeah.
rein
Well,
it
I mean,
in."
we're in the conversation with you, so we can tell. I mean, this is none of this is scripted, and you're just going
So
up, bringing
yeah,
out
and
books and
I have
theories.
to rein it in. But when he said, when I read this book years ago, and it said, you have to make someone thirsty to have a conversation with you. You can't
Yeah.
just blurt it out and leave them hanging, and then they're like, "Ugh." They want to. If you do that, they want to spew it out. They don't want to have. They don't want. They don't want more. So I just thought about that
Yeah.
when you said that connectedness and
Yeah.
how we um the mirror, but it's almost like, hey, I thought about this. What do you think?
Hmm.
Not, girl, you done just put on about 20 pounds. Are you depressed? If you
That
don't get away from me
that's a
talking about
quote.
my
That's
weight,
a quote. So many people have said that. I'm just saying because I love you though, right? You feel me? I love you. That's why I'm saying it. I wouldn't say it if I didn't love you. And like, hey, love me a little less.
you're right. Love me a little less because I didn't feel that love on that
But
one.
and so here's what I would say: the salt method, that's really good, and something to that effect. A lot of different theories are going to have that. The problem comes when people come to me and they're like, "Hey, I'm doing the salt method, or I'm doing Peter said have a mirror." So I'm like, I'm holding up the mirror and it's not working. Again, look at the connection and look at the competence side of things.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And so that brings up another C word is if you are in a relationship with somebody that is having mental issues, especially mental illness,
Mm-hmm.
then you need to have a commitment. Parents come up to
Ooh.
me all the time and they're like, I did what you said. I held up the mirror and it didn't work. I'm like, it's not a trick. It's not magic. It's not hypnotism. Okay. So you might be using the salt method and they might be like, no, I'm good. Like you're offering me water and I got a soda over here. I don't need that.
Oh my
I don't
gosh.
need that. So that's what I'm saying. Any method, there's pre-work that you got to do. If someone's not getting thirsty when you're giving them some
Mm-hmm,
salt,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
then they're drinking something else. Like, oh, thank you. I
Oh
don't
my
need that. I
goodness.
already got some. I got chips over here. I don't need what you're saying. And the connection is what can carry you through those spots. The connection. You go back, oh, I'm going to be committed to connect. I'm going to be
Wow.
right here. Hey, when you're ready, I'm ready. Hey, I have some thoughts and observations about what I'm seeing. Whenever you're ready to hear those observations, you just let me know. And let me just tell you, if you never come at me and tell me that you want to hear those, I still love you. I'm
I'm
still
still here.
I'm still here. Just call me
Wow.
up. So that's what we give up too soon. We take all, whatever we're getting in these books or whatever we're getting in on YouTube videos, and we're seeing this on social media, and we have these tips again, and I love it all. I love it all. I'm all about that. But you need a system that's going to power that goodness. And if you don't have commitment, it's not going to work. Oh,
That's so powerful.
mom's just trying to fix me. My wife's just trying to fix me.
Mm.
My dog, I mean, I see it all generations. I see kids going and getting therapy and coming back to their household and being like, "Mom, I'm having such breakthroughs with my therapist. I'm talking about you the whole time. So, like, you need to get some of this. Like, you need to go. Oh, it'd be so good for you. Like, you have so many issues, Mom, but you don't have to. You can go to therapy and deal with them." Again, in that fake scenario, the child is so excited, and their healing and transformation is real, and they really want something good for their parents. It's not the right way because it makes you feel incompetent. And if I'm not, I'm not enough.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh, you're talking about me and my mistakes to your therapist, especially. I mean, you mentioned minority communities, especially a lot of minority communities.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You don't talk about your parents like that. Like that's dishonoring
Mm-hmm.
to talk about your family issues. At least in my community, like
You know, in ours as
that
well.
was dishonoring. You don't say, you take that to the end.
Now cultures have a lot in common in how we were raised and the things we believe and how we raise our children, and we have a lot.
Mhm.
Um, this has been such an awesome. You're gonna have to come back and talk more. Talk
I'd be happy to.
another time when we have, but I don't want to end this without people. I hope they see. I know they see my program scrolling across the bottom. But I hope they see. If you see, you can reach Peter at Peter Pinion. That's his Instagram, I believe, and
Yes,
then at Minds Connected. He's also on Facebook. Please, 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 if you need his help, please reach out to him. Please, if you know someone that they're saying, hey, I need to talk to somebody, and they just keep playing with the words, but you know that in the back of their mind they may need it. Just say, hey, I was listening, I saw this guy on Facebook, I saw him on Instagram. How about you give a shout out? Just inbox him at on Instagram, and hit him up, because I know this man of God. And you don't have to be about a spiritual thing. It could just be you want the counseling, you want the mental health coaching. We need you to get the help you need. If you don't want to reach out to him directly, you can reach out to me and I'll make the connection for you, because we want families whole. We want individuals whole. We want
exactly.
you to be well. There's no need to suffer in silence. We used to say that term, suffer in silence, but it's real. People
It,
suffer,
it
they
is.
suffer
It
quietly.
is. And we're still, like you said, we're making a lot of progress. And I don't discount any of that,
Mm,
but we still got a ways to go.
we
I mean,
do.
it's like all of our American issues. We make some progress, and I clap for it, and
Yes.
I fist pump. I'm excited about it. But don't confuse progress for being done. We're not
Right.
done. There's still so much work to do, and this is one of those areas that we have to work on. So what I would recommend, and this is just because honestly, I'm not doing a lot of one-on-one helping anymore. I'm trying to work with organizations and groups and stuff like
Mhm.
that. So I work with businesses and nonprofits and churches, trying to impact as much as I can. So I would be honored for anybody to reach out, and I'll send you my top counselors in the area, and
Mhm.
kind of give you a little bit of some of the guidelines that I used when I was looking for a counselor, because we didn't even get into that of what it was like for a counselor and therapist to go get therapy.
Mhm.
That's one of the key turning points in my life as there. So this is just a teaser for that. So I'm just saying, like, Vera, you gotta be, maybe um
Part
put
two.
yeah, put some part two in your heart, and maybe we can go, and I'll go into some of those details. But what I did now is I enjoyed teaching. I taught at the collegiate level. I taught introduction to psychology, and I love teaching in that way. What I did was I put a lot of what I enjoyed teaching and what was most helpful. I couldn't put everything in a collegiate for everybody, but I have a course that's free called Mental Health 101. Is for
Okay.
everybody, and that's I made that, and I just want people to know, to have a framework. They'll recognize it from this conversation. I talk with that framework, and those are the things that are there. 101 is about learning how to see the various issues of depression, anxiety, and trauma. Statistically speaking, if we're going to have issues, it will be in one of those areas. And then we have a Minds Connected mental health library where you can go and look up other issues beyond that. But it's just raising that awareness and giving people language to be able to talk about mental health. So we created that course, and that just helps people kind of
And
get
how
their
do they
feet
get
wet a
that
little bit.
course? How do they get to
If
that
they go
course?
to mindsconnected.com, it's
Okay.
there on the front page.
Okay,
That's
great.
that's our hope, that's our dream, for as many people as possible to go through that content. And then 102 is a self-guided course that is specifically giving tools. Some of the tools that we talked about, um, I kind of alluded to them a little bit. And those are my favorite tools. Those are the tools that, working through my depression, working through my anxiety, working through my trauma and obsessive compulsive disorder. Those are the tools that I used. And those are the tools that I mostly use in counseling and coaching sessions. So I'm like, I'm going to put these in here, and I want as many people to have access to them as possible.
And hey guys, I see it here. I'm on his website. It says free course. He's not making this up. It says free course Mental Health 101. He has a blog on here. You can go and get the information you need from mindsconnected.com. And I'm just so excited, Peter. I don't even know. We are going to do, because that you talked about, I know my counselor sees a counselor. And so
That's awesome.
um,
I
I
want that
remember
to
when he
be
went,
more common. I want that
yes,
to be the thing
yes,
that's happening
yes.
nowadays.
I was having a conversation with a young lady the other day that I told her, as a life coach, I said, I didn't just wake up one day. I said, first of all, I've been coaching all my life because I've been helping people most of my life. But I said,
Yeah.
even preparing to be do this as a business, I said,
Yeah.
I had to, one, I made sure my stuff is together, but I also, in preparation. So those of us who do this on a business, we have to make sure that we keep our stuff intact too, because how else are we helpers,
Yes.
healing hands and that for other people, unless we're getting the help we need? I mean, reading the material, doing the research, and also keeping ourselves healthy in all those
Exactly.
ways, and practicing what we preach.
Exactly. We have to. We have to,
Mhm.
because I want to be like, my dream is just to keep on helping in some way until the very end. That's what I want.
Yes.
I don't. I can downshift a little bit at some point in my life, but I don't ever want to fully retire from helping people. I love talking about the brain. I love talking about the mind and mental health, and seeing relationships, because I've already been doing this 12 years. So
Wow.
professionally, at seeing therapy and treatment and coaching work in people's lives. So nobody can tell me that it doesn't work.
Hmm.
It works. And there's so many confidential stories that I could tell if I wasn't a good ethical mental health practitioner. But I am, so nobody I'm taking those to the grave as well. But I know there's a passion inside of me that has seen somebody get a job, that has seen somebody save their marriage, that has seen somebody go to college, that has seen somebody graduate from college, that has seen somebody start a business. So there's just, the stories go on and on and on of what can happen when we're willing to put the work in, to put ourselves on the line and go see if we can connect. Look
Hmm.
for somebody that you can connect with, but also look for somebody who's competent, but then also look for somebody that is going to hold you accountable and that wants to invest in you, and make sure that you're getting the most out of the process, because like you said, you've been on the other side of care as well, and so that's
Hmm.
beautiful. And me too. I had to know that I had to put the work in too, because there's
Exactly.
no shortcuts. I wish I could just turn on my phone camera and coach and counsel myself. It doesn't work that way.
Nope.
I use the tools every day,
Hmm.
but I needed somebody else to connect with, because that's the most powerful thing in therapy, counseling, and coaching, is that connection. Somebody saying, "Hey, look, here's this healthy thing that I think I should do," and they're like, "Yes, that's good," even if I came up with it, and they're
Right.
just validating it. That's still super powerful.
Oh my gosh. So again, guys, this is Vera Sadler with VLS Coaching Services. I'm with Peter Pinion from Minds Connected, and we are here talking about mental health, how to stay healthy, how to get healthy, and what the tools are and the steps you need for it. Peter, we're definitely going to have you come back,
Thank
because
you.
we're going to take it to part
It's
two.
recorded. You can't.
Yes, it's recorded, it's live, and everybody can hear me say it. But as soon as your schedule is available, my schedule, we're going to connect for another Tuesday Talk Live, because
Thank you.
we need you to come back and just continue this conversation. It's something that's dear to me as a coach, as
Yeah.
a woman who's mentoring. I've been mentoring and coaching people, and I know it's dear to you. And give my love to Lindsay and the
Thank
boys,
you.
and
Thank
we'll
you.
see them on the soccer field again.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right,
Appreciate it.
you have a great day.
You too. Bye bye.